Let's do it.
Yes, hello my fabulous, beautiful people, and how are you all doing today? So today I thought it would be fun if I had my friend Jamie come on. She is an ex-DoTerra Hun. She was actually up kind of on the top of her team. She had 150 people underneath her, and she left the company a few years ago now, and so I wanted her to come on. I wanted her to tell a bit of her story to us because I thought that would be really fun. It might be good for her to do too. As you guys might be aware, recovering from something, telling your story, it can really help you, especially if you do it in more of a public place so that you feel good helping other people, sharing your experiences in hopes it can help others. So I wanted to give her an opportunity to kind of come on my channel and do that. And then she found some DoTerra Hun bots, and she and I are going to watch one of their videos in which they are talking about peppermint, Japanese peppermint essential oil and how great it is and how you can use it. And you guys know what I feel about rubbing essential oil all over yourself and drinking it. So we're going to just do that today. So first I'm going to have Jamie come. She's going to be telling a lot of her story. She and I spent pretty much the whole afternoon together. We were on a call for like 4 hours because I adore her. We're friends. So yeah. And so I'm just going to play part of her story, and then she and I are going to be reacting to some witchy DoTerra Huns. So stay tuned if you want to watch that.
I know there are other MLMs happening in Portland, but DoTerra is, I think, like one of the biggest ones here. It's hard to tell. My friends and family were very supportive. My sister actually was like, we talked about it a little bit yesterday because she knows I'm like kind of in this right now. And she's like, I'm pretty sure I warned you it was an MLM. I was like, I didn't even know what that meant. Reconnected with some old friends recently and, you know, talked about it a little bit, and they were really like, what? You know? I think you really do have to be kind of in that vulnerable place to be prospected. I mean, I think it was definitely a combination of things. I had previously been a massage therapist and I was injured. So, you know what? Actually, I did not get injured until actually a few months after joining. But that kind of prompted me to take DoTerra on more because I wasn't practicing massage as much. But I'd been doing massage for a long ass time, like 15 years or something at that time. And I had created my own line of massage and body care oils, you know, that I formulated and I produced. And it was a little bit of a process. I had met this neighbor who ended up being a friend, and she gave me a sample of wintergreen, and it sat on my nightstand with the stupid little A to Z guide for months. And I don't even think I looked at it. Like, it just was not on my radar. I was like, I'm not using wintergreen in my formulations. I don't know what to do with this. And then, you know, I mean, I don't think we ever even had a conversation about it. She just gave it to me because she was sampling. And I mean, it was apropos of nothing. I didn't say, oh, my shoulder hurts, or, you know, like wintergreen is for pain, you know. So I literally didn't know what to do with it. And then I think it was about a year or maybe even 2 years after that, that we were on a walk. I don't remember the conversation we were having, but my kid was about 2, almost 2. My husband had been kind of in and out of work. I was really hoping to be just a stay-at-home mommy and still had to work. Really sort of resented having to still have to work. It was complicated because it's not like he wasn't working, but it was unpredictable and kind of sporadic because it was part of the entertainment industry here. He was doing transportation, I think, at that time. My dad had died a couple years earlier, and that was, so I was in sort of like a complicated grief process as well. Like there was a lot going on. I was not in a stable place. And the line of oils that I created, it was my plan to sort of have this product line be my stay-at-home mom business. But those carrier oils, they go bad. They're not like essential oils that will have quite a long shelf life. They go bad and turn rancid. And if you can't sell them quickly enough, it's a lost batch. So I did not have my operations down. I did not have my marketing plan. Like I didn't know how to run the business. So, I'm on this walk with my friend. She goes, this upline lady, whatever, is making like 15 grand a month. Wouldn't you like to make 15 grand a month? And I was just like, of course. It's like it's that right moment, a trusted person lays it out. So I literally don't think I asked any questions about the business. I thought I'd be selling retail bottles to my clients. I resold my intro kit to one of my friends, like I just thought it was going to be reselling. I remember that when she started texting like business stuff, and I watched one of the first links and it was all about belief, and I was just like, what the fuck? I really was like, what are they talking about? So it took me a while to figure out what it was, but it never like I was enough, I was trained as a holistic health coach. I was sort of already in that self-helpy kind of world that it didn't turn me off. I was like, okay, I'm going to check it out. And the community aspect was very appealing. Luckily, my actual friends were not in doTerra, and I think I got very, very lucky that I didn't alienate them completely, because, this is the thing with doTerra and maybe just my team, the way that they operated, I feel like they did a really good job of not being slimy. They really focused on educating about the product, really supporting people, serving people. And with my background, that was really easy for me. And I also taught like a lot of DIY classes, like making products, since I had that background too. It was like fun, get together with my friends and teach these classes, or go in the community and teach these classes. It was always like a weird, like, I already have my own business, so it sort of was under that umbrella, but there were these weird phases where, at one phase it was just kind of doing it on the side of my massage practice. And then as that wound down from my injury, I was starting to set up this wellness center that ended up not working out. But, like we had the product line in our office. And then when that collapsed, I was like, okay, well, what would it look like to try doTerra on as my main thing? I did a ton of booths and events, and I built a team of over 150-ish people. It's a substantial downline for, I think, just one person. They were mostly customers. I did get certain people, in place, right, for the structure, who basically were agreeing to keep up that 100 PV minimum so that I could build underneath them. Like they were interested in the business, but they didn't want to do the business. So it was sort of like buying them time and helping me out. And, I was just like, well, they could buy it from me and then I get a little commission. And what's wrong with that? doTerra's compensation plan is really like, the way that it's set up. I don't even know how to talk about it. It's like, it's basically the opposite of Young Living. The way that it worked, because you know, on your top line, you got 1 or 3%, but you got a higher percentage as your team grew. So theoretically, that encouraged sort of longer term growth, because it wasn't a lot of money up front and then dwindling. They really talked about it in terms of like, we're all helping each other, which of course is not true. But I liked that it wasn't get rich quick. You know, I thought, okay, if I'm doing what they're training me to do and I'm consistent, because they're saying success is inevitable if you don't quit. We went through a lot of training systems. We'd do one and then they'd find a better one and they'd train us on another system. It was like every quarter or twice a year at least, it felt like we had a totally new business sales system, and they'd change the vocabulary. So it would be like, you know, you want to really own the fact that you're in sales, right? So then we were selling essential oils, and then we were essential oil educators, and like all these different titles to try to, you know, make it more professional. I mean, my old uplines, like their pages say essential oil experts, and it's like, they're not experts. They're not experts. It's just like paradox after paradox after paradox, right? You're, you know, like with calling yourself a business owner, but then you're not, but then you're using the language of we're hiring, you know, and but you're partnered with the company, but you're running your own business, but blah, blah, you know. And then with the being an expert, but we also, because of compliance, could not speak from a place of authority. So we'd always be giving these books out and say, refer to the book, right? Like, you be your own expert, which is empowering. It is dangerous. I mean, look at my sister, who after how many years now is guzzling oregano. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah, you can definitely create a sensitization and even an allergy. You can definitely overuse them. And the protocols that we were given were definitely overconsumption. I mean, you were using them all day, every day. First of all, that's just not necessary. You know, it's like not ever gonna be like a primary form of medicine. You know, they do want that. And they talked about opening healthcare centers, and they talked about, you know, integrating into mainstream medicine and all this stuff. And it's like, well, on some level, that's okay, because there are some benefits to essential oils. But the problem with an MLM is that people are really not properly trained. And even if they are, as many times as I tried to tell people safely how to apply the oils, then you've got my sister who's still ingesting them. Even topical application, you know, one of the things I posted on this account that I just opened and got shut down already, which is still baffling to me. I'm like, who's shutting me down? So weird. You know, one of the first things I posted was a proper dilution guide from the Tisserand Institute. You know, I mean, the thing is, no clinical aromatherapist is advising ingesting that I know of, except for in maybe really specific circumstances and in specific dosage. We like the ratios, and I mean, you'd often see a recipe for like a 10 ml roller bottle with 40 to 80 drops of essential oil in it, which is an extremely acute concentrated dose. Like, and that was normal. But if you look at a proper ratio for dilution, there's different percentage. We never learned any of that. We never learned proper dilution ratios and in which cases you would use a stronger or a weaker dilution ratio. We never talked about that. It was just like, get them on you all day, every day. On you, in you, breathe. Like, you got to buy more. You got to buy more. Oh, it's all about creating a dependency. And I mean, I remember when Arborvitae, however you say it. My team put on this wellness summit, and the up line was there, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I've already gone through 6 bottles." I was like, "6?" It had been like a month since the oil came out. I was like, "You've gone through 6 bottles already?" And she was like, "Mm-hmm." And I swear to God, I mean, I'm also like a very intuitive person. I could see behind her eyes like this, like, is that okay? You know what I mean? I was like, that normal? I could just see that, like, it was like, that sounds crazy, you know? We're telling people that these oils don't go bad, they'll last a long time, a little goes a long way, and then, but use them all day, every day. It's so many mixed messages. And then even just on the doTerra website, there's this whole new founders club thing that I want to check out. Well, I watched their little video about it, and it literally did sound like on passive. It was like, don't think about it too much, just jump in. Do you ever want to do like I sometimes think about doing like a where are they now? Because there's so many people on my old team that were kind of more mid-level ranks that are out. You know what I mean? Like they're out, or even if they're still doing it, it's like within something else, I don't know. Like a lot of people don't end up just being a doTerra leader. They're like, this one girl is oh my God, it just rubs me the wrong. She's a shaman, but like she talks about it as plant, like they're just co-opting language and co-opting culture for their benefit. Like, I don't know, gross to me. The woman who told me, when I was complaining that I wasn't finding any builders for my team, she was like, you just have to do it. You just have to build out your team, right? So I did. She's in real estate now, right? Like she was our business trainer every week. I literally have no ties to them anymore. I do occasionally get a text from my upline, but I stopped texting her after she took over my team, after she asked for my team. I asked for my team because it had been when I quit, I still kept up my order. So I was still getting a tiny commission every month, even though I wasn't active. I was keeping up my order. And then I stopped doing that, but I was still getting a monthly order, but it wasn't over 100 PV. I did that for a while. And then I canceled my loyalty rewards order altogether, but I still had a wholesale account. See all these different levels, not complicated at all. And so when I was basically just, not placing any orders or maybe a sporadic order here and there, it was about 2 years almost after I quit. And when I quit and I told her, she was like, "Yeah, honey, I get it. You've worked your ass off and it hasn't worked," right? Like it was amicable. We were friends. I mean, I met with her every week. She was lovely. She was a very kind, compassionate, spiritual kind of, like she was a good person. But what I noticed for sure is that she was not texting just to say, "Hey girl, how you doing?" after I quit. We weren't mentoring anymore. She was not getting in touch, but she got in touch when she wanted my team. And I was like, and I know that she's had other people on her team quit who would not give her their team, because I'd been there for her, right? I'd been there for her when she was like, after all the mentoring I did, they wouldn't give me their team, blah, because people left that were pissed and who were not happy and, whatever. And I left peace, whatever. So we had a kind of back and forth supportive relationship, but I was like, you can have my team. I don't care, like be my guest kind of thing. Because I knew it would help her, and I knew that she had to jump through hoops every month to keep rank. She'd place orders on my account, on other, like just to keep rank, Right before I quit, I had doTerra had come out with this promotion for the rank right above where I was, and I spent however long, a month or 2 months, rearranging people on my team just to be able to qualify for this rank. And I was like, I'm not health coaching. I'm not teaching people about essential oils. I'm rearranging shit on my team. And I started to really look at my upline and how all consumed they were with doTerra. And I was like, that is not time freedom. And, you know, I had those little moments of seeing it for what it was and noticing how I was spending my time. But in that moment, it was after 4 years, you know, and I was like, this isn't going anywhere. And I'm not going to do this fucking dance where I have to call up my friend and say, can you sign this thing so I can move you, and have to explain it. And they're like, what are you talking about? You know, it's just so, I was like, I'm done. She asks for my team, and I actually ended up having a really frank conversation with her. I did not have all the language at the time, but I was like, I'm pretty sure it's the business model, not me, kind of thing. You know, and I was like, and it's not against you, and it's not against even doTerra. I was just like, I'm pretty sure it's the business model. And she's like, well, you know, I know it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. I was like, all right, well, basically I was like, if I'm going to give you my team, I want a big thank you for all the work I did. I want acknowledgement for all the work I did, because it certainly didn't benefit me. She really, really heard me, and I felt good about that. And then after that, like, I'd never heard from her. You know what I mean? Like, it was like still all good in the hood. You know what I mean? Like, she was like, well, I think this person on your team is actually going to start building, this person who I had been like coaching for 4 years. And I'm like, good luck with that. You know, it was fine. But the team at large, like, I feel like the culture that they tried to create on the team was not ever going to be one of those teams that, I mean, you see some of these team calls that people are doing reactions to, and I was like, I mean, I could not even imagine being on a team like that with these girls yelling. And no, like, my team is so like chill. They're just a little bit nicer. The story that I had always heard was that my upline, whose sister is our top person, the 0.004% person, she's a presidential diamond, that, you know, Aisha built her sister Ariana, who was my mentor, up to silver, which is the first official leadership rank, before kind of turning it over to Ariana. Got in early enough that she'd show us pictures of the first conference she went to, which was like 200 people or 5,000, like a very small number of people at the conference. And it never dawned on me, like, of course she got in early, right? Like, it never dawned on me. Of course you're at the top. You got in early. The overuse, like, I don't want it in all my products. I buy scent-free shit. You know, like, I want to be able to I want to be able to smell things and not just like all day long. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy. But it's just an incentive. You get points, and you're getting points for hitting rank. And then if you earn enough points, you get a position as a founder. And it's just to get people motivated to build, you know? And I literally do not, and I don't understand kind of in the big picture of MLM and pyramid schemes and the FTC, how they're still operating, because it's obvious that, you know, you're recruiting. If you have a team, you're recruiting. And there's another one of those weird paradoxes that I still can't wrap my brain around, is that, you know, most of the people on my team were just customers, right? If they had known that they were actually part of a downline contributing to PV, would they have wanted a wholesale account? Just buying a wholesale account to get a discount on the products, and there I am offering free health coaching as part of their account. I mean, why would they know? You know, like, I did always introduce the idea of the business opportunity. Maybe that's how doTerra is getting away with it, is that they do have sort of a clear delineation between a builder and a customer. Well, even so, it's like the customers are on your downline. I wonder, you know, and if they do pass that opportunity rule thing, will that be part of sort of the disclosure process for people? Right? Like, as a customer, you are on a downline. Are you okay with that? Check this box, you know, or whatever. I don't know. I never read the policy and procedures. The way that we pitched it was just like, hey, we've got something for wherever you're at. If you just want to be a customer, great. But then in the back of our mind, it's like, but they'll fall in love with it. They'll want to sell it. So it's just like, it's one of those like thought terminating cliches, right? It's like, you're going to call me a hater, so then the conversation's over. Great. Top upline person on our team, her husband was in sales for like 25 years. I can't remember what company. It was like a big company, like Microsoft or something. I can't remember, but I mean, just to sort of like think back to their presentations where he'd be like, I've been a sales professional for 30 years. Like, let me tell you, I mean, just like you could just see how fucking giddy he was that he didn't have to do his job anymore and that his wife retired him. And then he got to stand there and say, you know, if we can do it, you can do it. But they had a lot of cred. Yeah, they had a lot of like, you know, they had a lot of very kind of refined arguments that seemed totally reasonable and discerning and, you know, no. But I wonder if that video is up yet, because they said like later in the month they were going to be talking about the kids line and how awesome it is and how every kid needs it. And I was just like, no, not every kid needs, like, no. Why does why? To be heard, because it's hard to heal kind of in a vacuum. It's like, oh, you know, without that sort of, you know, I mean, I've definitely talked about it with counselors, but not even real. It's just like, it's such a layered process. Divide and conquer. I mean, I just came across them. I actually did chat with them back and forth. And I thought that we were going to actually be able to hop on a call or a Zoom and like have a conversation, but it never happened. I mean, I just reached out to them because I was like, you know, I think it was right after I started like intentionally looking at doTerra stuff again, and they popped up. And I just, you know, I just had this moment where I was like, maybe they don't understand what they're doing. Maybe I can give them some resources. So it was a very respectful conversation. It just didn't really go anywhere. So, you know, I didn't want to keep following up with them or pestering them to try to get them to have thank you so much. To try and get them to have a conversation. So I thought, well, I guess I'll just start reacting to their videos, you know? Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. I don't know what to say. We can just get into their video. There's a lot to say in reaction to the video. Okay, so what I want to say before we start is just this little description. I'm just going to kind of decode this. doTerra customers get this oil free this month. So doTerra has a free product of the month if you spend 125 PV before the 15th of the month. You get a free bonus product. It's of course not free. You're paying for it. And the reason that they want people to spend that much, and my team highly encouraged all builder people to spend 125 PV before the 15th of the month, because you're a consumer investor and you have to get that PV in place, locked in place, you know, before the end of the month, so you're not scrambling to hit rank. So this is a way to ensure builders are getting their PV on their team earlier in the month. So it's an incentive for recruiting and team building and team structure. So that's what that is. I just wanted to explain that a little bit. I think that's like another one of those paradoxes, is that my team really did focus on product education, but the implication was always that, once you fell in love with the products, why wouldn't you want to sell them? And so it was manipulative in that sense, right? They talked about it focusing on product education, but if you were a builder and if you were attending any of the business trainings, whether it's a phone call or a video or whatever, it was all about how to structure your team and how to recruit, obviously.
Hello, hello. What's up, witches and weirdos? I'm so glad that we get to gather here today. Tanya at Chronically Stitched is going to join me, and we're going to have our very first episode here on Instagram of Droppin' Knowledge, where we share with you some quick facts and wonderful folklore and wonderful magical properties of the essential oil of the month from doTerra. And hello everyone. Hello. Let's get I hope that this is finding you well and healing, and it's finding you in your sacred essence. Hello, love.
Hello.
Hello, my witch.
How are you?
I am feeling strong in my foundations that I'm building in my life. And by that, I mean, like, there's challenges going on, but also at the same time, there's, like, big blessings, too.
Perfect.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's the end of the school week, so it's the weekend, and I get to reupholster chairs this weekend, so yay.
Is that something you've done before?
No, we've just been talking about it for like 2 years.
Will you pause it, Beth?
I'm finally like, okay, we're going to do it.
Neat. So you got like a staple gun? You're like,
Yes.
Okay. I mean, we're a minute into this, and there's already, I'm sure, so much both of us could say. We've got 2 white chicks with dreadlocks, which another awkward layer of cultural appropriation, in my opinion. I'm in a city that has a lot of herbalists and a lot of, practitioners of traditional healing medicine. And they didn't want to touch doTerra with a 10-foot pole. It's like these were communities that I very much wanted to be a part of. And I knew that I could never pitch to these people because they were like, not really into essential oils. Witches and herbalists and people who actually have a relationship with plants, they're about like slow processes and slow medicine and things you can grow at home and process at home, which is not essential oil. I don't know if it's really against their belief system. It's just like not a folkloric thing because it's much more involved process. I mean, I do know herbalists in town who do have their own stills and process essential oils, but it's a very labor intensive process. And, herbalists are more about making tinctures, right? It's like you've got the plant matter, you put it in with the alcohol, a month later you process, like it's easy relatively. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of point that out because I feel like there's this distinction that, between herbalism and what people in MLMs with essential oils are doing and sort of co-opting that language of plant medicine that I just feel like is really inappropriate. Well, I definitely am a believer in magic, and that has nothing to do with my healthcare or my, I mean, it's the thing with the MLM essential oils is they want to use it in every possible way. And there's a really big difference. Like, are you gonna, I just feel like you need to kind of pick a lane. Like, are you in healthcare or are you in magic? Because I just feel like they're really, really different. And there is some crossover, but they will use every possible, do you know what I mean? Because it is a solution for anyone and everything. And I think the reason, yeah, and I do identify as a magical practicing person, but this rubs me the wrong way in every possible way. I'm not offended by it because I don't know their background. I don't know their training. I don't know who their teachers are. Like, it's not for me to say. I think people can self-identify or be trained in a tradition or a lineage. And I don't know their backgrounds. So it's really not for me to say. Yeah, I mean, it's a very broken tradition, right? And so the practices look all kinds of different ways. I'm also just not a person who's like very big on my labels or my identifiers. So I think it's more just that, they're trying to attract other people who are interested in magic and witchcraft is very trendy right now. That's the other thing. Like, it's very trendy. So okay, so they're sort of like leveraging that. Fine. Fine. It's fine. Everybody kind of has to have their niche. Great. So what are they actually talking about? Yeah, I think the bottom line for me is that I don't feel like MLMs belong in any religion or any spiritual practice. And so whether it's all the faith manipulation that happens in Christian MLMs or these people who are now using, like any kind of faith manipulation, I don't think is cool. I guess that's what it is for me. I think with doTerra that we were talking about earlier is like, they're not overtly, they're Mormon, their founders are Mormon. Does that matter to these people? Does that matter to other teams? I don't know. Like, because doTerra does a good job at making that subtle and just using words like blessings and not ever talking directly about religious beliefs, there is definitely this foundation or layer underneath it all of belief. Like I was saying to you in our other conversation, one of the first training videos I ever got was all about belief. And I was like, it just blindsided me. I didn't it took me so long to figure out even what I was doing or what an MLM was. But, they're using the language, but they're using it in a kind of, I don't know if manipulative is the right word, but they're making it appealing to as many people as possible. So you can sort of like insert your own religion into this broad idea of belief or whatever. They've got a very similar aesthetic.
Good power.
Yeah.
So we are gathered here today to drop a little bit of knowledge about Japanese peppermint. And it's something that I haven't really seen at doTerra. I guess they've had it, but I never knew it existed. From what I understand, most of the peppermint in doTerra actually comes from America, the northern states. But it grows all over the world.
Please.
And so it's really cool when you think about all the different places and what,
they're dropping knowledge. She didn't even know it existed. She's going to come out and talk about something she didn't even know existed. Awesome. The peppermint that they had when I was in doTerra that I'm assuming they still have. I don't know if they lost. I didn't research this, so I don't know, but I'm also not dropping knowledge. But the peppermint that they had while I was in doTerra was from Washington. So I don't know if they lost their grower or if they just added a peppermint.
Peppermint grows. We're talking about Japanese peppermint today. The earliest, some of the earliest mentions of peppermint are actually like in Greek mythology. And it's basically the lord of the underworld, Hades. He steals his bride, Persephone, from Demeter, Mother Earth goddess. Okay. Which is Demeter's really funny because when I was a middle school witch, I loved calling myself Demeter. I basically thought I was going to get it like tattooed on me. I felt like really close to like the Mother Earth goddess that is Demeter. But when I heard about Persephone,
I have no idea what this has to do with
basically that is why in the folklore tale, that's why that they say that when the springtime comes, Persephone is released from the underworld.
In witchcraft that relies sort of on these mythological stories from either Greece or Rome or the Celtic regions or the Nordic, like, you know, kind of in Western mythology. You know, there are some analogous things between Christianity and pagan religion, but they're not really talking about Satan. But then again, they're also not really, like, references to plant medicine in these historical texts are not talking about essential oils. So that's fine. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, like things get referenced, but it's kind of irrelevant to me. Story time.
And then when it gets cold in the autumn and the winter comes, Persephone is sent back down. The daughter of Mother Earth is sent back down to the underworld to be Hades' bride. And this repeats like year after year after year. And so what that has to do with mint is a really funny story.
What does that have to do
in
with
the spring, when Persephone returns to Demeter, Mother Earth, Hades gets the hots for this like wonderful river sea nymph called Mint, but it's spelled a really interesting way. It's Minthe. And eventually she becomes like, she becomes his, you know, like mistress. And either Persephone or Demeter get real so pissed at Hades that they stomp the river nymph Mint. They stomp her into the ground, and she turns into a plant that everyone will walk upon. And as it steps on it, that beautiful aromatic thing, that smell that we all recognize, is released into the air, and that's Hades paying homage to the beautiful and marvelous sea nymph Mint.
Well, I've heard this story.
So that's Greek mythology, but in other ways, like in Egypt, mint was used a lot.
I've heard this story about Persephone and Demeter many, many times in different, you know, contexts, and mint is not critical to this story, let me just tell you. Mint is not a central figure in the story. I've heard the story millions of times, and people are not including the part about mint because it's not critical to the story. Okay, I just did a quick Wikipedia. I mean, it's part of the story, but yeah, I mean, it's apparently part of the story. I'm just saying that in all the times I've heard the story, it is not part of the story. Mint character is not really a central character in the story that I've ever heard, for what that's worth.
Let's see. The Christian Bible mentions mint. Roman philosophers mention mint. And ancient texts from Egypt date back as early as 1500 BC, include peppermint. So it's been around and all over the world for a really, really, really long time.
It has. And the reason that Japanese peppermint differs, there's a couple of reasons. It always or almost always grows near water in more tropical climates. So it needs humidity for it to thrive, whereas other mint just kind of grows wherever. I don't know if you've ever had a mint plant. If it gets enough water, mint plants take over everything.
They really do.
All pots, all the ground, everything where it's at. It also has a higher menthol content. It can have up to a 95% menthol content.
So I heard it's highly sought after from the manufacturing, like the realm of like products and all these things. Japanese peppermint is highly sought after because of that, because the menthol is so strong. So much.
It is. So it smells more minty. That's what menthol.
Okay, I am just confused. Like, I am so confused right now as to how we got. I just. So we went from talking about Hades and like technically Greek mythology, and then now we're talking about Japanese mint. I need to know what Japanese mint and Greek mythology and Hades, how are these things all connected? And how did we get from mint that's being grown in the US to being Japanese mint?
Well,
Is
you
there a
know,
difference?
that's a really good point, because if you're going to tell sort of a cultural story or a historical or a spiritual story, maybe tell the Japanese story
Yeah.
if there's one that has to do with mint. But also I feel like what's happening is a little bit of like, I think the term is spiritual materialism, you know, where you are essentially selling something, but you're wrapping it in spirituality. And, or when your practice of spirituality is heavily dependent on sort of products and icons or whatever, you know, so it's like, it's not a really like a deep relationship, it's a commodified relationship. You know, that's kind of what I'm hearing in this.
Yeah.
I also looked up, I wonder if this is like, they don't have this on their website, so maybe it's just the free product because they don't have a lot of it or something. I don't know.
See, like my whole thing though is, yeah, like you said, if you're gonna be talking about Japanese mint, I need to hear a story about Japanese mint, not the mint that's in Greece. Okay, that was just bizarre to me. And and like, wouldn't Japanese mint come from Japan, or am I just crazy?
No, I mean, you know, and the other thing that doTERRA really likes to do, and maybe they will talk about this, is they really love to redirect people's attention to their sourcing model called co-impact sourcing, which is all about how awesome they are to their growers and the relationships that they establish with their growers. So it is a little bit of a weird like disconnect. I mean, they're talking about mythology that you do often hear talked about in Wiccan or witchcraft, but
Yep.
they're also talking about Japanese peppermint.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe contextualizing it, talking about their growers or any mythology that comes from Japan might have been a little bit more coherent. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
see,
mean,
my whole thing is like I just have an issue with like them saying that they grow the mint in the US, but it's Japanese mint.
well, there's like the mint that doTERRA's always had is grown in Washington, which they didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. And this is a separate product. So this is like a different mint that doTERRA is, it's not on their website. So I'm thinking it's just the product of the month, which is like, you know, something they have in a smaller batch.
Okay.
You
But
know what I
like,
mean?
wouldn't it still come from the same? Like, I doubt they're getting it from Japan though.
I honestly would not be surprised if they're getting it from Japan. They have growers from all over the world. So they've got, you know, they've got growers from all over the world for sure.
Man, it's just so weird. So weird to
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I don't know why.
Well, that was something that they really promoted and, you know, they bragged about, for lack of a more diplomatic way to say it. But the company always was touting their exclusive growing relationships. So I think at the time it was that I heard this, it was about 80% of their sourcing was an exclusive relationship that they didn't have to share with other distributors. So they are pretty good at going in and establishing these relationships and coming in with their nonprofit called Healing Hands to, you know, support the growers so that they can get the product, right? Without having to go through a middleman, which is part of what they say is makes their product special, is that it's not getting adulterated along the way because they cut out the middleman.
Mm-hmm. That's the same with Young Living, right? They say the same
Yeah,
thing.
right. It's that we've got more control over the product and the process. In that setup, we're really supporting these people. We're lifting them up. We're supporting a generational farm. You know, like they really get into the story of it, which is part of the distraction technique that MLMs are so good at. You know, wanting people to really kind of just focus on like the good that the company's doing.
Yeah, and ignore all the bad. It's too negative. Don't be toxic. Blah blah blah. I still think
Well, I
it's
know.
funny that they are doing this whole stream though on this product. It's a 20-minute stream, and then you go and look it up, and it's not even on the website right now.
No, I think it's just their free product of the month. So they must either like not have a lot of it, or it's a new partnership. I don't know, but they don't know either. They just found out about it.
Yeah, they just found out and then went live. She's like, I just found out, like, just now. I'm almost like, did you also find out about this story about Hades just now, though? Because you kind of didn't tell it completely proper. I'm just saying. She might have wanted to take a few minutes to go find out more about this oil and reread the story again before she... I'm just trying to give some nice advice for her future lives. That's all. I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, so we are only like 6 minutes into this thing, and
Oh,
all they've
girl.
done is told us a story.
They are gonna.
Does it makes it smell more minty? So you're talking like toothpastes and shampoos and perfumes that have mint in them. They're gonna seek that Japanese peppermint because of the higher menthol content.
Yep. So I'm really excited. I haven't got my bottle yet, but
I haven't either. I just got the notification that it's on the way.
yes, we're super excited about getting it because we really want to compare it to like the American peppermint to the Japanese peppermint because of that menthol content. Okay, so like beautiful ancient history.
There it is. The Japanese mint is from Japan, and it has more menthol than our American mint. So it will
Yes,
be
which makes it mintier.
mintier.
Mintier mint.
Mintier mint. Which, by the way, mint's pretty powerful as a scent.
It's already pretty fucking strong. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
like-
know that a higher menthol content is gonna do what?
Yeah, like, do I want that really? I'm kind of thinking, like, I'm like, listen, mint's already really strong, and if you're gonna give me stronger mint, like, I don't know, that might be too much for me.
I just, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, because wouldn't you still have to, like, distill it or dilute it the same and all that kind of thing? So doesn't that take some of the smell away anyway? Is that why?
I mean, when you look at the chemical constituents of essential oils, it'll say something like 60% menthol and then, the other constituents at other percentages, but
Yeah.
it'll usually have a dominant constituent. And those constituents do things, right? They're chemicals, they have actions, they're anti-spasmodic, they're anti-inflammatory, whatever. Menthol, I don't have my reference books anymore. I gave all that shit away. I mean, I do have some essential oil and aromatherapy books that are non-doTerra related that I've kept. I could go look up what the actions of menthol are. I believe don't quote me on this because I'm not referring to my resources, but they may be vasodilating. They might, increase the blood vessels to increase circulation. It might be an expectorant, like it might have actions on the lungs, so it's going to have different actions, but like, what is that difference between the Washington grown peppermint and the Japanese? Is it a difference of 10%, 20% menthol content? And like, what difference does that really make?
Yeah, like what would the menthol be used for that you would need more of it other than the scent? Which, as we brought up, I don't know if you need more of that.
Yeah, so it's gonna have a stronger menthol scent. So if you're blending it and you want that stronger menthol scent, great. Like, there's nothing radical about that.
Yeah. Like it just means it smells better. It smells more. Yay!
It's going to give you a different profile. It's going to give you a different scent profile in terms of its therapeutic benefit. I mean, again, like all of this is totally questionable because they're not trained aromatherapists.
Yeah, they're just girls with dreadlocks. So let's hear what these ladies have to say. I'm still waiting for them to really get to their pitch.
History is that in ancient Greece, peppermint was used funeral rites, and it was used alongside of rosemary and myrtle. Myrtle's different than myrrh. It's used in myrtle, but it's one of those ancient oils too. Anyway, not just to chase away smells, but it's also used in rituals, as in the rites of passage to death, and also to make this like psychoactive brew called kikion. And kikion is like this. What do they use? They use it's a barley.
Wait. Am I like crazy? Or is this girl like just way too happy to be talking about the like death ceremonies right now? She's like sitting here, she's got this like huge smile. Like, I don't know, it's just really bothering me. She was almost like laughing as she's like, this was used for a death ceremonies. And it was just like, I don't know if I would have that tone about me. If I was like talking about the oils that they used in their funeral services and their death ceremonies, it was just like really off. Also, I don't know if that's a good pitch. Like, I am not going to be going out and buying this mint because they used to use it at death ceremony. Like, am I crazy? I just feel like this whole thing's wrong.
I don't know, man. They're just taking little tidbits from whatever like historical reference they can find.
I feel like they literally just Googled mint. Like mint in history. And then like got some Wikipedia page and they were just like, this sounds good, and they made like some points and then jumped on this live.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just her effect was just really like, even right now she's like got this like smile on her face, and I'm very uncomfortable with people talking about death while they're smiling, I guess, and like, half giggling. I just felt like maybe she should have gotten a little more serious for that part.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just off.
There's a little bit of a disconnect or a tone deafness or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Like, does it almost prove in a tiny way how she is so about just selling this oil right now that she isn't even thinking of things like that? Like the fact that she's talking about death right now and not having the appropriate, I guess what you would call like facial expressions and body language and effect, that tone we would all expect from someone talking about that. Like, to her, it's literally just one track mind. I'm going to give information about the history of mint to try to sell it.
Yeah. You know, especially if, I mean, she's talking about these ancient funeral rites and plants that they used, but it's, you know, also we have to remember the context that we're in a global pandemic where a lot of people are dying, and this could be triggering for people.
Yeah. And again, the like way she's talking about it to me just seems very insensitive too. Like I don't know. I just sat here watching it and I was like, this is sitting so wrong. Like, I feel like I'm watching someone telling me a funny story, but she's talking about death ceremonies. And like you said, it's kind of a sensitive topic, especially right now. So it's just, okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I didn't quite catch that or like notice that as much, but I totally get what you're saying. And there's some like dissonance or disconnect between like the expression and the topic that is, yeah, like I could totally see how that would feel weird to you and anyone.
Yeah, it's just I really want her to get to the point where she actually pitches this. Because I'm like,
Let's see if
okay,
I
so we've heard about Greek mythology, which you somehow tried to lead into how they're from Japan. Okay. And now you're like telling us about the death ceremonies, which again, I think that's kind of a weird flex to use to sell these. Okay. So it's just like, we're almost halfway through this thing. Like, okay. And the other girl hasn't said really anything, so I'm kind of wondering why she's even there.
You know, again, I have not spent a ton of time on this page or whatever, but I think she owns a bookstore, like a mystical bookstore, is what I've gathered vaguely.
I mean, that would be cool if it wasn't like distilling doTERRA oils in it all day.
They are.
I don't know. She was watch her start laughing now or something while she's talking about it, and then I'll have an aneurysm.
Mix barley and mint, and they would even make mint water. Like, we think like infusing our water with mint is some like new hipster trend, but they've been doing that for a very long time. Humans are very smart, and we like mint water.
It's so good too. So refreshing and cooling.
It is refreshing and cooling. I'm just looking at my notes. So I didn't realize that Japanese peppermint was actually already in one of the blends that doTERRA offers, because I basically never heard about it before. But it's in the kids collection, and it is in Tamer, the Tamer blend. I had no clue. I found that out.
Yeah, that's the one that I knew about, but I had never really heard of Japanese peppermint aside from in that Tamer blend. I'd never really thought it was that much of a difference. But if you smell Tamer compared to like Digested, it does have a different smell profile.
That's so cool. Everyone can learn more about the kids collection and why every kid needs their own little wonderful oils later this month.
No.
I'm sorry. She told us that it has a different smell profile. So I was like waiting for them to go into that and how it was different. And then her friends just like, cool. And then they just like went on to the next thing. And I was kind of like, wait, what? Like, how is it a different profile? Like, what is the difference? Okay.
Have a different smell profile.
That's so cool.
It's mintier, Beth. Don't you get it? It's mintier.
The end, I guess. Like,
the end. Now they're promoting the kids line, which, you know, again, this is like, do our kids really need to be slathered in oils all the time? One thing I will say is that from what I remember when they came out with kids roller bottles is that they actually are properly diluted, whereas everything else was just like use all over you all the time, you know, without necessarily learning about proper dilution ratios. The blends, I think, actually are formulated in a specific ratio. So if anything is going to be safe,
to be in order to be like the roll-ons, for example, because I know a lot of the kids line is like the roll-on ones. And I'm pretty sure that that's because they almost can't make that product unless they use the proper ratios.
Yeah.
Because it's something to do with like how it won't actually like be in the roll properly or like stay in that form and whatnot. So that would make sense to me. I could see how they would have to do it for the kids line more so than just the regular oils that they give you in the bottles and whatnot, let's say.
Yeah.
But it's still,
I mean, again, I never, ever, ever was taught or shown a proper dilution guide in 4 years. Might have been in the reference book, but, you know, it wasn't in any of our presentations from the naturopaths. They were, you know, creating roller blends with 40 to 80 drops of essential oil, which is a very, very, very concentrated dilution.
That sounds
Um,
insane.
So, you know, if you look at I could pull one up right now, but you know, it's like for daily use, it's like a 2% dilution, which is, I'm making this up because I'm not looking at the graph, but you know, it would be like 2 to 5 drops for a 10 ml bottle, not 40, not 80. Be like 2 to 5 drops because they're real rated.
And you
So
know how we talked earlier about like how adults and stuff can OD off of this. You have to think that the kids out there, they are even at more danger from that. So if you're a child and you're living in a home with a mom who's like cleaning with this, using it as shampoo in your hair, warming it all over the house, and then like everything else, you got to think, and then she's also taking a roller and rolling it all over you.
Well, the pitch is that, you know, it's not a synthetic chemical, it's a natural chemical. And this idea that anything natural can't be harmful is kind of problematic, right? So it's not that it's a bad product.
I mean, arsenic is also natural. I'm just throwing that out there.
It's that people are different, and you can't just tell people to use them all day, every day, and expect it to be a safe recommendation for everybody. And that kind of overuse, you know, produces sensitization and allergies in some people. Like it's not great, and it's just not necessary. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you can have an oil for everything, but do you need to? Like, can't you, like the whole wellness model in doTerra, you know, what is it? It's like nutrition, exercise, sleep and stress management, reducing toxic load. And then up here, like toward the top of yet another pyramid, this is a wellness pyramid, is proactive self-care. And that's like where essential oils fall in. So it's already sort of like in this zone of holistic health that you would only want to use like a little bit, right? What's more important? What you eat, your exercise, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, like basic shit.
Yeah.
Using essential oils is like a sprinkle on top. You don't need to be using it all day, every day. It's not a nutrient. It's not sleep. It's not water.
It, like how you just brought up, it's not a nutrient. They almost treat it like it is a nutrient, like something that you need in everything in order for it to even work. And you have to make it your whole lifestyle. It's not just about like using them either. They make it like your entire lifestyle, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it definitely became my entire lifestyle. It was ridiculous. You know, and again, like I was a trained holistic health coach, certified, you know, but you know, you get into this company and on a team and you're talking about this all day long, every day. And then it's like, it's your go-to remedy or solution or recommendation for people.
Not only your go-to remedy, but it's also what you use in your shampoo. It's what you clean your house with. Like it's literally at the forefront of everything you do on a daily basis, pretty much. And then they also want you to rub it on your kids.
It's a lot of exposure. It's a lot of exposure. And, you know, when they're talking about using natural products or reducing toxic load and burden on your system, it's like these get processed through your liver. So you're also asking your liver to process a lot more than it normally would be when you're consuming. And I'm saying consuming because it's like you're doing it aromatically, you're doing it topically, you're doing it internally in doTerra and Young Living. You're not seeing internal recommendation across the aromatherapy world. You're just really seeing it mostly in MLM. You know, so it's a lot of consumption, which is not great for your liver. You know, like your liver can process it in about 2 hours, but should it have to do that all day long? You know,
Yeah,
like
that's
you're
a good
asking your
point.
liver to do a lot more work, which I feel it's like ironic, right? Like trying to,
Yeah,
you're trying to
self-care.
detoxify. What?
Yeah, your self-care with essential oils, right? But then it's like being hard on your body.
I think it is hard on, you know, and like people are going to have different tolerance levels. And
there's no way to tell what that is. I think that's what's scary
yeah,
to me. It's like, especially in a situation where you're just selling to someone like randomly online, if you don't know who they are and you don't know much about them, how do you know like what one they would need? How do you know how much they can handle? And that's why I just think it would be a lot better if people wanted to use essential oils, if they went to someone like you or another oily mess who they can actually go and talk to, who makes the oils themselves, knows what's in them, knows everything about them, does the appropriate steps to ensure that that person also uses it safely. You know, because it can be
yeah.
very dangerous and there's no way of knowing. So it's kind of like you're just telling people to use these oils, and if they have a low tolerance, something
Well,
can
you're
happen to
making a
them, and
lot
how
of
do they know until
assumptions.
it does?
Yeah, you're just making a lot of assumptions because you don't know people's health history. You're just maybe responding to like a health concern, right? But you don't necessarily know their health status or their health history or how they're actually going to use the oils, because you can tell them this is the safe way to use them, but they might need to hear it 20 times, you know? Like I just talked to my sister and she was talking about drinking oregano and I was like, "What?" You know, like I'm sure that when I was active in doTerra, I told you not to do that, right? But people don't hear it.
Well, it's not only
And
that, but then they'll see another doTERRA person say to do it. So it's like, even if you're their like person that they buy off of and you're saying
right.
not to do it, then all of a sudden Susie over here posts that she's been drinking or like oregano for friggin' 3 weeks and it made her skin clearer or something stupid. So then your sister's like, "Oh, well, that attraction marketing thing, it can work sometimes." So she
Yeah.
sees that and goes, "Oh, well, I'll try that out."
Yeah. I mean, it's just, there's no kind of quality control happening, you know, which is why these companies get sent compliance letters from the FDA. And, you know, it's like there's big compliance issues and health claim issues and big safety concern. So I don't know. It's a problem because you really can't, you know, when you're selling this stuff, it's like your job in doTERRA is to empower people. So you're trying to give them the resources that they can find their own answers. But then when those answers are coming basically from inside the company and the company's mission is to sell more shit, it's a problem.
Agreed.
I hope that everyone joins us for our kids collection class because it really is so helpful.
It really is.
It's wonderful. So I want to let people know the ways that they can use mint in their daily lives and Japanese peppermint. So generally speaking, the 3 ways that we use oils is topically, aromatically, and internally. And this Japanese peppermint is safe for all of those uses. Where do you want to start?
Let's start topically.
Okay.
So topically, shampoo. That's the one that like surprised me the most in doing research, was that if you just add it to your shampoo, it's going to be more tingling, more cooling, because of that menthol. So it has more of a cooling tingle in the shampoo.
Love it.
Why?
Other ways that you could use mint is if you have a headache. So
I guess
you
that's
could
what
dilute
menthol
it
causes.
with a carrier oil. Any like oil that you would eat is a great oil, and then you can put it on the back of your neck. Keep it away from your eyes when you're using it topically. Keep it away from any places that are moist and wet or where you sweat a lot, and dilute it because, as you'll notice, doTerra's oils are very, 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 very strong, and it will freeze your face off.
She didn't even say how much to
Why-
dilute it.
No, there's no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I literally never saw a dilution guide with ratios, you know, like this many drops for this many ounces of carrier oil, depending on what you're going for, right? So at least she's talking about dilution. I'll give her that, because she's saying it can be dangerous if you're getting it in your mucous membranes, is what she's saying.
Yeah.
But then she just said, it frees your face off, which is what you want. And I'm like, what?
Freeze your face off.
Why is that what you want?
Yeah, I don't
And why
want
is
my
making
face
your scalp
frozen
tingle
off,
like
okay? I like my face. I would like it to stay on me.
Well, well, these are not particularly therapeutic actions. You know, tingling scalp and freezing
Yeah.
face. I'm not real sure what the indications are there, like what they're treating. You know, obviously you can't say treating, but like, why do I want my my whatever?
Yeah, why do I want my skull to be tingly and my face to freeze off? Hopefully they'll tell us
Let's hear.
why we want that, because I got no clue why. You got no clue why, but they apparently do, so.
But not in your mucous membranes, because
Yes.
wow.
It helps to cool the body, like you said, for headache, but you can also use that to cool the body for fever too. It's not going to cure your fever, but it'll help to cool your body when you have a fever.
Wonderful. You could also
I'm not
add
really
it to
sure
the
that's
bottom of your
compliant
feet
language.
in the summer. Like if, say, just when everything's really sweaty, the bottom of the feet is a very safe place to use essential oils.
Yeah, I noticed that they're very careful in how they are wording certain things.
Well, I think they're trying to be, but still, I don't think that it's compliant to say fever or like specifically mention any kind of like
Yeah,
I don't even think you can say headache. You can say, you know, I can pull up the doTerra approved claims, and you can say occasional discomfort. You can say mild, you can say tension. I don't think you can say headache. You can't name conditions. So it's just not compliant language, which could be construed as a false health claim.
Uh-oh.
Right?
Uh-oh. And then I put this on my
doTerra.
channel. What are we gonna do? They got caught. Oh no. Yeah, I don't care.
And that will help you cool off. So if, say, you're going on a run and it's already sunny and hot outside, put some peppermint, Japanese peppermint, on the bottom of your feet, and it'll regulate and cool down your whole overall body. Try it. You'll love it.
You can also use it for itchiness and hives. So if you have hives or you have itchy skin, putting peppermint on there will soothe it and cool that spot.
Speaking of putting peppermint
Not
on there,
essential
let's tell
oils, it
people
won't.
that we can also add drops of Japanese peppermint to a spray bottle to do that. So you want to dilute it with water in that case and not necessarily oil.
It is going to be stronger with the water because the water does activate that cooling effect. So if you can use it undiluted, that is if your skin is not super sensitive, then absolutely add it with water. If not, stick to carrier oil.
Cool. It's cooling. Lavender's good for burns. I've made a sunburn spray with peppermint. You can use
Okay.
Japanese peppermint and lavender because
Wait,
lavender's really
water
good for
with
burns.
water and what?
Peppermint's
Add it with water. If not, stick to carrier oil.
She said that they are either going to use water or the stuff that you guys use to
Carrier oil.
add the coconut oil
The
stuff.
carrier oil.
Carrier
Right.
oil.
Carrier oil.
That's what it is. Yes.
Okay, I think what she's saying is like if you're using a spray bottle, you can just use water, right? That's just like a general mist. That's if you're not doing it right in your face, like that's fine, right? If you're actually applying it, you know, you're supposed to use a carrier oil. You drop that on your bath water and you sit in that, you're gonna burn your ass.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, I just was a little unclear about what they were talking about right there.
Yeah, but my issue too, if you paid attention, is that they also said that you can drink it in water. Like you can pour the mint oil into the water and then drink it. So like, again, when they're saying that you can do things like that and then they're talking about rubbing it on yourself, it's like, well, why wouldn't someone just put a little bit of water in it and then rub it all over their body when you're telling them that they could pour oil in water and drink it?
It's just not crystal clear, right? Like the instructions are not real clear.
There aren't really instructions.
And I think it could be, well, I think they could be, I mean, even for me with a big background in this, like I'm not following exactly what they're saying. And I think people are going to, you know, their customers are not going to be clear on the safe application.
No, I'm definitely not.
At least just from that. At least just from this. I mean, of course, you know, in relationship marketing, you teach your customers how to use, but you know, nobody's listening. You can tell them 20 times and they're not going to necessarily get it.
Yeah, well,
in my experience, like I, you know, really tried to get people as much of the safety protocols as I was aware of, which again, were not sufficient. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's just so weird.
First class at DoTerra Witches. So basically, you just want to start. Another comforting oil would be chamomile. So take your Japanese peppermint and lavender and something really nourishing like chamomile or copaiba and mix it in a bottle of water. A couple drops each, not very much, and then spray it on the sunburn and you'll get instant relief. It's great. Do you have any other topical before we move on?
Topical indigestion. Put it in your belly button or rub it down along your chest, and that'll help with indigestion.
That sounds wonderful. Also, bug sprays, I would imagine, have peppermint in them. But bugs don't necessarily like peppermint very much. Airborne pests. I think that's all I have in my head for peppermint topically. Anything else?
Yeah. No.
Okay, aromatic uses of peppermint.
Aromatic. So you're gonna with peppermint. From all the research that I've been doing with the Japanese peppermint, it is amazing for meditation. It helps you shift your mindset when you're there because of how strong that menthol is. It like awakens your body.
Energizing is a word that comes to mind. Every time I inhale peppermint, I feel very alert and energized.
Alert, focused, energized. All of those good feelings that you want when you're in that state of seeking answers.
Yeah, or a state of maybe studying or being in a place where you have to sit still, but your mind is active. Peppermint is great for focus and study as well.
Yes.
But the way to do that would be to put a drop of pepper.
You know, I mean, aromatherapy is aromatic, right? And, you know, there's a process that happens through the limbic. Like, you can achieve some benefit through inhaling essential oils. Like some of the, like this makes sense what they're talking about, to some degree, right? Like, you can get some of these benefits. I don't know what else to say.
No, I agree that like essential oils can be used to like be an aid when it comes to medicine. Even I believe in some holistic medicine can even work, but as an aid. I just don't think it should go and replace Western medicine, of course. And I understand that obviously like smelling something calming can calm you down. Like I've heard that, for example, lavender is really great for sleeping, things like this, jasmine. You know, like I believe in that kind of thing, but then my whole thing is beyond that, I'm a little bit like, okay, that's really all it can be used for. I feel like she thinks that this peppermint is going to cure a bunch of things.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not going into much explanation. They're sort of grazing some, you know, like with meditation.
That girl at the top is not impressed. Like she's just kind of like, yeah, cool. And then they like go on to the next thing. Like I can't read her. She's bothering me.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of real explanation going on, but that's okay. It is what it is.
That's just doTerra at this point.
Well, I mean, the implications are like anything from meditation and enlightenment to a sunburn, right? Like we're spanning the spectrum of like it does everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like you can't do that. Like, pick a few things, that's fine, but, like, come on now. Right? Like, it's not for everything. Calm down with your peppermint.
Right.
Peppermint, or you can inhale from the bottle too if you don't want to drip a drop. But you can put it on your hands, rub your hands together, make a little warmth, and then cautiously and carefully, because it's very strong, inhale a couple deep breaths all the way up through your nasal cavities into your lungs, and it'll be like internal air conditioning.
Like internal diarrhea?
Yes. Diffusers are also a great way when we're doing school to keep that focus. I'm excited for the Japanese peppermint because I think it's going to have a little bit more of an effect because of the strength. Throw it in the diffuser and just let it run. I usually do peppermint and wild orange. They pair really well together, and they have that uplifting and focusing and inviting aroma.
I love, in the diffuser, I love pairing peppermint with trees. So Douglas fir is one of my favorites. Even like cypress is pretty fun with peppermint.
Oh, I was like, you guys have a
I think there's so many ways that you can combine peppermint in the diffuser. It's not one of those picky oils.
No, it actually it'll pair well with almost anything that you put it with.
I agree.
That's not true.
So when inhaled, the Japanese peppermint actually can help reduce inflammation in the lining of the airways, in the bronchial tubes. So it's really good if you have bronchitis to open up those airways.
No!
It's a very expansive feeling because you get kind of like the coldness, but then there's like what's the word that means like opposite of red, but you get like a calming effect too,
like a softening.
Because things that are red are like honestly like very tense, and
do you want to pause it for a
I just
second?
feel like peppermint's like the opposite of like heat. It's very, very cooling. More than
So it's like
you get a softening. What?
Well, I mean, remember with the constituents, they have actions. So bronchial dilating could be one of the actions of mint, you know, of menthol, right? Like we could look up the constituent, like that is totally a thing. It can help open the airways, which if I pulled up the doTerra compliance language, you might be able to say it opens the airways. You can't say bronchitis.
No, I definitely do not think that you can say rub it on your hands and then breathe it in and it will fix your bronchitis. I don't think that that's allowed. Also, I do not suggest just rubbing it on your hands either. Please do not just take peppermint essential oil and pour it and then rub it and breathe it in as is. Don't do that.
The problem with doing that to me is that then it's going to be on your hands and you might touch your eyes or another mucous membrane. And that, like, inhaling it directly is not particularly problematic if you're doing it in moderation.
Yeah.
But then you're going to touch yourself and burn your eyes. And, you know, it's like, you just don't want it on your hands because it's going to get.
I feel like it would burn your, even like could burn your hands though, if you're just taking it and directly.
Well, your palms and like the bottoms of your feet are not as, like, you're not going to, like, it doesn't feel like anything really on your hands necessarily. If you rubbed it on your skin, especially if you got out of the bath or shower, like if you rubbed it on your skin with open pores, it's going to burn.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to feel minty. That's for sure.
Not in a good way. Not in the way you want, I don't think.
For me, putting a half a drop or a drop in my palm, like that's a relatively safe application, but
see, that's the other thing that I have an issue with, is that she didn't say like how much to put. She was just kind of like, put some on your hand, go like this, and then breathe it in. It's like, like, you don't know that someone's not gonna just take the bottle and just, you know, like, yeah,
they come out.
That's what
they come out quickly.
Yeah, that's what kind of bothers me, is that even when they do give these like instructions and safety protocols, they still don't give details, like you said. Like, they don't say how much to distill. They don't say how, like, many drops to put on your hand. Like, I haven't heard her say, make sure you only put 1 drop or 2 drops or, like, anything like that. So I can't even really blame the other people that just kind of pour it, because there's no, like, regulation of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error. People get their oils and they learn the hard way that you don't want to pour it on top of your bath water or, you know, put oregano into your mouth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things the hard way. Even when you're trying to give people information, it's not enough.
Yeah. It never is, because they're just going to do what they want to with it anyway. And then like I said, they, even if you give them the proper information, then they see the other Huns out there that maybe aren't following the proper information. So no matter what, someone's telling them somewhere to do it wrong. So it's like, it's not even really on each Hun either. It's kind of a hard thing to regulate, because it's like, you don't know if they're following their upline or if they just saw a post somewhere that said this and where they got their information even from. Like, it's hard also when we're reporting these companies to try to like figure that out, right? Because we're like, do we report the Hun because the Hun did the post that, or is it like the upline told her to do it? Did the company tell her to do it? So then we try to like trace it back. And sometimes we can't find it because it'll just be some random person they saw probably online that posted it. You know what I mean?
Well, I know that when I was on my way out, it looked like a lot of the training material, both essential oil training and business training, were being kind of consolidated, because it was like all the top leaders were producing their own training systems, which of course they would sell, right? So that was another source of income for them. And then they had their oil supply companies as well. I mean, they had multiple businesses going on. They had supplies for bottles and books and pamphlets and all that shit, in addition to their downline. So they were producing and providing all the training materials.
Yeah.
And all the class handouts and all that stuff, all the books.
Which takes a massive amount of time, and they are not getting paid enough to do all of that. I'm just saying. Even they are.
Well, sure
really
they are.
paid.
Well, I mean, it's a separate business. So they are making a ton of sales because they're selling to all the consultants all these materials. So I would imagine that they are making
but that's what I mean, is that then they make it off of that business that they created themselves.
Yes.
Instead of making it off of the doTerra so-called like downlines like they were supposed to. Which is what a lot of MLMs will kind of tell you to do. They'll say, go and start doing almost like a training academy where you teach people, because they know that you're not making money in the MLM. But if you do that and you make money over there training in the MLM, it almost gives you the illusion that you are making a bunch of money with the MLM. When really, let's be real, if you wanted to, you could just go train on your own. You don't need
Yeah,
to-
you see that a lot in different things. Like in the coaching world, it's like it's hard to make it a coach, so you coach and train the coaches. That's how you make your money. Or in doTERRA, like the coaches who trained our leaders in leadership, these people aren't in MLM. They're coaches who are banking off of. There's a lot of weird.
Yep. No, and it was the same in It Works and Scentsy even too. Like it would be the same thing. Like when I was in It Works, they told me to start a health and wellness like website and try to do a health and wellness business instead of selling it as It Works, and then I could also train health and wellness and then make money that way, and not only depend on their products, but I don't know, I kind of got to the point where I was like, wait, why do I gotta do that if I'm supposed to be making so much money with your company though? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the branding gets really confusing because it's like, well, am I a proud doTERRA rep, or do I need my own actual business to sell doTERRA through? Like it, you know, yeah, I do see a lot of higher up leaders though who really do brand themselves as coaches or trainers. But I think in terms of like where they're getting their education, if it's not like from their own team trainings, what I saw on my team was that a lot of the training materials were being consolidated and actually being offered at doTERRA, like on the doTERRA website, because a lot of the up leaders kind of got together and were like trying to make it simpler and more accessible for people.
Yeah, so they just did the
more
training
duplicatable
for it, for the actual
website. So I don't know how many, like, you know, I'm sure teams are still using independent coaches or other training sales systems, but all those independent companies, my understanding is that they kind of got together and like put it under doTERRA.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a doTERRA affiliated. So it's all like on the website now, and it used to not be.
But
does that make sense?
That's good for us when we react to them, though.
Yeah.
It's like fire and water. So when you have fire, it's very red, it's very hot, it's very active. When you add water, it's going to cool it down, and it's going to take that activity from being up here to being down here. So you've got the red and the blue will just cover that red and cool it down.
Yep. I love it. So internal, unless you have any more. Internal.
Nope. Internal.
Internal uses for Japanese peppermint. Okay. My favorite thing to do if you're new to essential oils is to put a drop of peppermint back on your hand, like I asked, and then put your thumb into your hand like this, and then put your thumb on the roof of your mouth. And it's going to connect into these like nasal cavities, these passages, all of like your lymph system back here. Oh my gosh, it is an experience to be had. And since doTERRA essential oils are the most tested and they don't have any contaminants, and like you can go find that out yourself by looking at the reports, you can take them internally. I got a cough.
Yeah, so internal usage of oils is not something you want to do with oils that are not pure. doTERRA has the purest, the highest tested standard oils. They do over 50 tests on the oils to ensure purity and that they are not being adulterated in any manner.
They do the test.
So other cool ways that you can take Japanese peppermint internally is to add it to like your baked goods. So think like chocolate peppermint brownies. Think like a chocolate peppermint bundt cake or anything of that nature. It's a little goes a long way.
They want you to cook with it.
They want you to eat it all the time, all the ways. But here's the thing is I don't know that just because doTERRA oils might be very pure, which when I was with the company, they did have them tested third party. And, you know, all that was always really interesting to me, like all the different tests that they'd run. They went to great lengths to demonstrate that they went sort of above and beyond typical tests for purity. So all that was really cool to me. again, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should be taking them internally just because they are not adulterated.
Mm-hmm.
And it also doesn't mean that other essential oil companies are necessarily adulterated or impure, right? So there was this argument that like we're the purest oils and nobody else is pure. Like, I'm sure there's adulteration happening in the essential oil industry. It's largely unregulated, but does that mean that just because they're pure that they should be taken internally? It's not a real argument to me.
No, it's not. Especially if you're just pouring it out of the bottle and you're not like diluting it in any way in order to ingest it. That's very worrisome to me.
Yeah, I mean, there are, I mean, lavender is probably the most studied essential oil, and there are internal applications for lavender, but I would want to get that from a manufacturer who has that proper ratio and the proper kind of like, you know,
I wouldn't want
internal
to do it
delivery.
myself unless I knew exactly how to do it, and I don't know if I trust myself.
And how much, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the kind of protocols that they're coming up with and the ratios and the frequency, it's like, where are they getting that from? That still is like a mystery to me.
It's true. It's true. I don't know. Like, I've tried to find too, and every time that I talk to somebody that has any experience in creating essential oils or in aromatherapy, they tell me that their levels are very worrisome and that they also don't know where they're getting the information from that this would be okay, because according to all of the information they've looked at, what these guys say to do is not how you should be doing that. Especially the eating.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that really is taking it to like the level of medicine. And, you know, I mean, people can do all kinds of things to try to treat themselves, but it just doesn't feel appropriate at all to be recommending it based on what? Like, I want to know what that recommendation, just because they may be pure, does that mean they should be taken internally? Again, like the governing bodies that I'm aware of, like the National Association for Holistic Aromatherapy, they're not recommending internal use unless it's like in very kind of specific ways that are being monitored by the practitioner, right? Like,
and
under their guidance.
Is that there is no monitoring of this whatsoever because they're not trained. And that's why, again, I think if people are going to be using oils for anything, they should go to somebody that actually has their training in it, that's going to know all these things that these guys aren't taught. Like you said, you weren't even taught about that.
No, I mean, what you're taught is just what they're saying, right? Like what they're doing is like, I was trained some version of this presentation with, you know, the and it's okay because it's pure, and
because the company says so.
Yeah. Questionable at best.
And it'll probably just explode with like mint flavor once it's all done.
Yeah, and if you're having like poor appetite, nausea, anything like that, if you drop it, you put a drop in water and you just sip on that water, it's actually going to stimulate your appetite. It's going to cut back the nausea and all of those symptoms you could be feeling. So it's also really great for IBS when taken internally. So irritable bowel syndrome, it helps to soothe the intestinal tract. So eating it in food, drinking it in your water, putting it directly under your tongue, the directly in the mouth experience is going to be a lot more intense, but it's like riding a wave. You put it on there and you feel that burn and you feel that up, and then you feel it cool and you feel that release.
So just ride the wave.
It just sounds so fun. It really is fun when you explore with essential oils and you like start to understand all these different ways that you can like commune and work with these plants.
You know, it's the aromatic.
Another way that we should
You want me
actually,
to pause
let's
it?
tell them that you could use Japanese mint to make an allergy balm. Will you tell them about
Yes.
that?
Let's
Dude,
pause it before
dude,
they
I'm
get
sorry.
into the
This is gonna
allergy bomb, please. I need a minute.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. This is gonna take like 4 hours to get through, but it's just, you know, I mean, in herbalism, it's often the aromatic compounds in the plants that are stimulating the digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
And mint is totally indicated for digestive ailments. But again, you cannot, these are non-compliant health claims that they cannot be talking about. And
Can't
what is
people
this
just
feel
go
the
eat
burn,
mint?
ride the wave?
Just go
You know,
get
feel
some
the
mint.
burn, ride the wave. No, I mean, oil and water don't mix, honey. You know, like at the very least, it has to be in like a nut milk or a carrier oil or something. If you're going to do that, which again, I'm not recommending.
No, but you do have a good point that like oil and water don't mix together and that the water wouldn't really dilute the oil in that case.
No, they're saying feel the burn, ride the wave.
I feel like the burn is like me having diarrhea on the toilet and the wave is me being in there for like 5 hours hoping to come out because I just ingested way too many essential oils.
Well, IBS is a pretty serious condition too. And I mean, again, like, is that appropriate for that condition, that population of people? Do you know how they're going to react? I'm sorry. I'm going to try not to talk so much. I'm just like.
No, that one was bad. Like the IBS claim is extremely, extremely worrisome because I know people that have IBS and that's basically a problem in the bathroom area is what that mainly causes.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like if you're telling people to drink essential oils, that also causes problems, by the way, in the bathroom area, I'm sure. And so I'm just like, that would not go over well. That would not be a treatment for that at all. I don't think it would make you feel better. If anything, I think it would irritate your bowel, which is the problem.
Yeah, it's not necessarily just like a neutral tonic. You just don't know how somebody's going to react to it.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you know, when you start talking about internal use, like that is definitely the most intense application method, and it should be sort of given the respect of and the acknowledgement of like, this is not just aromatic use.
Mm-hmm.
It's a totally other level of application. Like, I don't know. I just feel like they're being very flippant about it.
Oh, they are. And it's like really scary because of the false medical claim that they made that just like freaks me out. Like, don't tell people with IBS to ingest essential oils ever. I can't with that. That's so bad. Like, if one of my friends with that did that, I swear it would probably send them to the hospital. That's what I'm worried about. So I'm like, no, don't tell someone with IBS to go drinking peppermint essential oil. That's not going to help, and it's very dangerous. I just pray that nobody takes these people's advice.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a big difference between having a cup of peppermint tea and ingesting essential oils. You know, yes, they both have menthol constituents, but in much different capacities.
I feel like eating the mint would actually be way better for you. You could probably do that if you have IBS. Eat actual mint, and you would eat actual mint, a mint leaf. You know, maybe even make tea out of that. You'd be good, but not the oils because there's other things in that is going to irritate especially if you have IBS.
Well, that's again like where my head just starts getting really fuzzy about it, because it's like in DoTerra, you're taught to teach people in the like 101 class that peppermint is 1 drop of peppermint is equivalent to 28 bags of peppermint tea. So what does that mean? You only need a 1/16 of a drop?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how does that ratio play out? Because when you're telling people then to just put it in your water, well, how many drops is that? That's like 200 bags of peppermint tea, right? Like, who drinks 200 bags of peppermint tea?
That's a good point.
You know what I
And
mean?
all
It's
in
just
one,
like,
all in one sitting in one cup too, by the way, right? Like,
it's just a lot. It's a lot.
mm-hmm.
And if a little goes a long way, I don't understand.
Exactly.
I don't understand the recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're always contradicting themselves with that. Because a little goes a long way, but then, yeah, like something like that, you're like, well, then why would I even need a drop to put in my... Seems like a lot.
I mean, somebody could have an open bottle and you could walk by and that might be enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, you know, that's kind of what it should be used for, though. I believe in it for, like, aromatherapy, but anything beyond that makes me cringe a lot, especially telling people with IBS to go and drink it in water.
I could see, you know, as a massage therapist, you know, in the proper diluted ratio, doing an abdominal massage.
But see,
with a team.
Again, you said the proper ratio, and it would also be a massage that you were using it for. So it's a lot different, even topically that way, than like drinking it or even taking just the oil and rubbing it on yourself, like what they've kind of recommended you do.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, the other thing that I came to understand is that they evaporate really, really, really quickly. So if they're not diluted in a carrier oil, they're not particularly being absorbed through the skin very well.
So then there's no point in it then.
Not well, I don't know. Like, I don't know what that quantifiable absorption ratio is. I just know that if they're not carried with a carrier oil, the skin is like, they're just evaporating a lot of it. I think some is probably getting through, but a lot of it is probably just being evaporated. So, you know,
I wonder if that like has anything to do with why doTerra doesn't really care. They just figure it's being evaporated, so you can just rub it all over yourself. It'll like evaporate. Oh well, we don't tell them how much to put a carrier in or whatever.
Carrier oil.
But it's like, no, don't. Come on, doTerra, get better if they can. I don't have much hope for that though.
Because of the higher menthol content, it's going to be a little bit spicier, but you can mix Japanese mint, lemon and lavender, and it makes an allergy balm. So instead of taking like a Benadryl, when you're having just like seasonal allergies, that stuffy nose, you can take one of those. It's going to open up the airway. It's usually in a capsule with
Not like
carrier
Benadryl,
oil.
though.
You just drop a couple drops in there and take it, and it'll go in. It'll open all those airways, and you won't have near as much seasonal allergies that way.
No, there's
When you
allergies.
take, I'm glad you mentioned capsules, because that's the way that you would take oils. You would use capsules such as this. I just happen to have them near me. You open up the capsule, drop in whatever essential oil medicine that you want in there, top it off a little carrier oil, because sometimes you can get burps or an upset stomach when it's really hot or cold. And all of these things are going to affect all of your cells really quickly, actually.
When you drink essential oils.
And when we take in all of these oils in different ways, they actually work together really well too. So that's one of the reasons science has shown that when you take more than one oil at a time, they actually propitiate and make the effects even greater just because they're combined. And so I thought,
Yeah, and Japanese peppermint is a stimulant too, so it actually will stimulate the other oils to be more effective.
that's so
What?
cool. But don't underestimate the power of the veggie
No.
caps, like the capsules, because
I mean,
a lot of people, it's very
Never
intense.
that.
It's an intense experience.
I'm gonna
Unless
pause
you really
that
want
for
an
a second,
intense
'cause that
experience,
was
you
just-
might not want to
Yeah.
get a shot glass of water and put in.
Listen, I have done quite a few interviews with people that make oils, and I have never in my life heard that. I don't think that's true.
It's confusing, right? Because they're talking about the action on the body, which is one thing, peppermint can be a stimulant, for example, to your digestive system or to your respiratory system, right? Like it can stimulate those organ systems. I don't have a problem with that. And then they're talking about the synergy between the oils, which there may be some studies out there about that, but they kind of lost me in there somewhere with like those got mashed up together somehow.
Yeah,
that
like how
made,
can
like
you
now
use
I can't
one oil to
now
be
I
a
can't even talk
carrier
about
for another oil unless it's just the what's it called oil?
Carrier oil.
Coconut oil.
right.
Which
They're
is a
saying the oil
carrier.
stimulates the other oils. No, I think it may have a stimulating effect on some systems in the body, but it's not stimulating the other oils.
Yeah.
There can be synergy. Like there can be, I mean, I think I know what they're trying to say. It's just they're saying it in a weird way.
But the part that bothered me was that then she said that like you can replace the carrier oil with peppermint essential oil.
Oh, did she?
And I'm like, I don't really think you can though, because there's a difference between the coconut oil and carrier oils.
Carrier oil.
There's other kinds of carrier oils. I'm not like all up on it, but I do know that there's other kinds as well.
Carrier oil.
Other than the coconut oil, that's just like the main one that's used, I guess. So it's
in doTerra, yeah.
Like I just don't understand though, because peppermint again sounds like something you would have to dilute quite a bit because it is a strong one you have to think of, right? It's strong. Mint's very strong as a scent. To be used, it's strong. It is a big stimulant, so it's strong. So I'm just like, how would you then use a strong oil like that, mix it with another strong oil, let's say, and then think that that's going to be the carrier for it?
Carrier oil.
That's not, like, that just makes no sense in chemistry.
I just got 20 things that they said mixed up because it was so confusing to me.
Yeah, they like kind of threw it in at the end there. She's like, yeah, and you can, it's a stimulant and it's a carrier oil, so you can just replace. And I was like, okay, first of all, you messed up what stimulant means in all this. And then also now you're saying this over here. That makes no sense. None of this is...
They're trying to wear too many hats, right? They're trying to be your priestess, your medical doctor, and your cell biologist, and a bunch of other things. So it's a little... I just hope they can be a little bit more careful in their language. And yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I don't even know. That mixed my brain up so hard. I can't even talk right now.
It's like now they're just really messing with my brain because they just
they're messing with my brain.
I don't know anymore. That happens to me sometimes when I listen to on passive. I get it. Sometimes, just listen so much, you're like, wait, what?
Well, it's that word salad thing, right? Like it makes it a little hard to track. And
this is kind of word salad too, by the way. Like they're kind of explaining it, but they're not really explaining it.
Exactly. Exactly. So when you're trying to like unravel it, it's like, but is that what they're trying to say? And it's
That's
confusing.
What we've been doing this whole time. We've been like, wait, what was that? It does what now? Okay. Greek mythology, Japanese peppermint, sure,
I actually feel a little sad now. Like we didn't hear one thing about the sourcing or Japanese mythology.
No, and there's only like 2 minutes-ish left. So I am kind of wondering like how this is going to wrap up, by the way.
Let's see.
Because like they're kind of in the middle of explaining it still. And so I'm like, okay, they're still going to be explaining it for another minute or so. So then at the end, do they just like really quickly do a pitch with the last minute? Like they're just like, so make sure you go to my website because you can buy it today, blah, blah, blah. Because like usually there's a pitch in these, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, all right, let's see how this goes from we're explaining everything to we're selling it to you now.
And a drop of peppermint, a drop of lavender, and a drop of lemon. You might not want to swig and shoot that back because, whoa. but it's really, really simple to just fill these up with anything. And Japanese pepper
With anything.
IBS, that's definitely one thing you might want to try.
Oh, definitely. I think the last way that we don't really talk about much is that you can use it as a surface cleaner too. So it has germ killing properties in it. So you can add it to your On Guard spray if you have it. You can add it to the Abode line. You can use it on its own or put it with balsam fir and lemon. That way you get that whole spectrum of cleaning power.
You got me at fur.
Yes.
I just want to thank everyone so much for joining us for our first drop in knowledge on Japanese peppermint. You can find us here every month talking and discussing and researching and sharing what we learned about every product of the month with doTerra. And if you want to know how you get the product of the month that we're talking about for free, please hit us up because we know the perks and we know how we can help in the best way possible and get you exactly what you need to get started.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next time on Drop.
Bye.
Bye, love.
They really did do that. She did.
Yeah.
She did in the last minute. Just like quickly like, oh yeah, and by the way, if you need it, blah, blah, blah.
Get you exactly what you need to get started.
Pitch at the end there.
They squeezed it in.
I was like starting to think that maybe they just weren't going to do it. I was like, are they just going to thank people for like coming? Because like Tom was ticking, you know? I was like, they're getting down to the wire now. But no, she squeezed it in there.
Get you exactly what you need to get started.
She did that. That's what she did.
Yeah. Yep.
No,
Thank you so much, Beth.
I would
This
love
with
to
me.
meet up with you every once in a while, like maybe once a month or something, and tear up some doTerra Huns. That would be fun for me. If you're interested in doing that with me, you can come on. If you
I
get
would
your
love to.
If you get your page going again, just let me know and we'll promote
Cool.
it as well once it gets going. I don't want to like promote it right at the beginning because you already got one shut down. We don't want to get that one shut down, but
Woo!
we'll
Those were
definitely,
it.
like promote it eventually and stuff. And yeah,
Cool.
so
Yeah,
thank
this
you.
was great.
Thank you, Jamie, for coming on and for telling me your story and reacting to some doTerra Huns.
Carrier oil.
Get you exactly what you need to get started.
I'm sure that was interesting for you to do since you haven't done that a lot.
Yeah. No, I haven't done it a lot. So thank you for hosting me and doing this with me. I definitely appreciate all the work you're doing in this realm. And, I know you've looked at doTerra before too. So this was great to do with you.
Yeah. So I will hit you up on Instagram later and then we can talk about the next time you want to come on.
Awesome. Get on passive out of there.
And doTerra too. We'll just one at a time. We'll just keep going. Get them all out.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie. Well, you have a great rest of your day, my dear.
You
Love
too.
you, lady. Thank you so much.
Love you
for
too.
coming. I just wanted to thank Jamie for coming and doing the interview with me and for telling us her story. She is just such a sweetheart, such a warm person, an easy person to talk to, and I can't wait to have her back on. We're thinking of maybe reacting to doTerra Huns going forward, like once a month or so. Let me know what you guys think. And please do give the video a like, go down and leave a comment of support for Jamie. It's very, very hard to tell your story when you're recovering, and that's what Jamie did here today. So props to her. I really hope that it's helped her on her recovery process and going forward. Because it's a long process to recover from these things. I do have videos on that on my channel here, so be sure to go check those out, and on doTerra as well. And guys, no matter where you are or what you're doing, I hope that you have a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous day. Take care, and I will see you on Friday with my premiere of Charlie, which is the Charles Manson story. It will be at 7 p.m. Eastern, so I'll see you then. Have a good one and take care. Mwah. Bye. And don't join DoTerra.